Have we adopted a model of entertainment that forces a separation of artist and fan? So there's this phenomena in live performance, commonly known as the performer audience paradigm. And I wanted to unpack some of this stuff because it is really interesting when you get to the core of it and look at how this has affected people and performers in the past, we've sort of strayed away from that, and how we're making a bridge back to that original essence of it today in modern times through technology in the digital world. So let's get into it. Have we adopted a model of entertainment that forces a separation of artist and fan? Or are we in a new era where audience and fan, performer and artist are all a part of the same experience, and we're getting closer together through that connection? Let's unpack it. What does it feel like to perform on stage? As a performer myself, and I'm sure many of you are, you know that there is some sort of existential thing that happens when you're in the midst of a great show, or you're in the performance, you're rocking out with your people, you're, in that live flow state, and there's just something that is a natural high about it, or it's something that's unattainable, almost a out of body experience, if you will. When you become the show and you embrace the theater, you have this elated feeling that you are rising above and beyond in almost an esoteric kind of sense, where you are evolving your spirit and yourself along with delivering entertainment. And it is a very unique type of thing, and many artists and performers find themselves on a sort of never-ending journey of how this does grow, and they embrace it as a lifestyle. What can be a negative side of this is that when you embrace the spotlight, you saw this a lot with arena rock and arena shows, to where you have these mass events all looking at one stage. That does begin to build a separation between the audience and the star, and there's this superstardom. The audience looks in on these stars as godlike characters, or we call this like the false idol worship. So there's an interesting sentiment there, where what are we becoming in it, and the power that is sort of willfully given over by the audience in a group mentality to that artist, and what the artist chooses to do with that, and the performer chooses to do with that. Definitely opens some mystical realms, increase the energy in different ways, and take the frequency of a live room, a giant venue like that, to a elevated level, or into somewhat of a hypnosis is always possible as well. These are very interesting things that happen within these sort of context of what comes with false idol worship and that separation of audience and performer. What was live music like before staged events? In tribalistic senses, music was treated as a community operation, or a community ritual. Ritual dance is so integrated with the music. It's almost like there's a communal event happening, and no one is given that sort of pedestal that you would see with a staged event, where the performance and the audience is one functioning organism, both benefiting from the back and forth reciprocation of energy. But I want to talk about the fusion of these worlds, and where you see great artists of our time, and even the ages of arena rock and large mass venue events, and how they've always kept cycling back into this rhythm of creating a greater community event. Infamously, Freddie Mercury and Queen began the song "We Will Rock You" with that very simple feet on the floor and clap, to, on a large scale, get a mass of people involved. And that was a psychological approach, actually, to get the whole audience and get everyone participating in the event, naturally elevating the frequency. And you see how far that has come and how much power that has on the frequency of large groups of people. I always think of Gogol Bordello, how those were these circus type events almost, where everyone in the audience felt like a piece of it. This is where you get, people in mosh pits and stage diving, just that high frequency and lots of moving energy in the show. People sort of elevating together and all reaching that heightened experience is another form that you see in these large bands on stage, relating back to that raw nature of the tribalistic performance. And nowadays you even have, with the digital age, you have the streamers out there, people who are DJing and producing beats, people like Ari at home doing loops right on the streets around the world in real life events. So people on the streets in real life, in the material world, experiencing that music happening right in front of their eyes, even having the chance to partake it. People jump in and do verses, they do raps, constantly this evolving landscape, and it's all improvised. Yet while also being a streamer, there's this massive network online that's tapping in and having immediate engagement and reaction to these performances. You're really able to see the integration of this tribalistic nature and the community involvement enter in this next generation type of way, which is really incredible. This is always an interesting part of the conversation to me, as I was someone who came up in small venues, and there was value to being on stage and having an audience really deeply engaged with what you're performing, and the high that you sort of get from that attention. We are definitely in a world where understanding that yin and yang of the performer audience paradigm, elevating each other and as a equal force, we're generating this bigger Brave New World type experience. In a way it's scary, in a way it's opened up these doors of opportunity for internet fame and growing audience outside of traditional fashions, which is something I'm constantly fascinated with. And at the same time, there's still this certain amount of network experience, an itch that's not quite scratched the same way as going to a live venue, becoming a part of the energy of a crowd and living the experience. Anyways, there's a ton of other things that weigh into this performer audience paradigm that we didn't touch on. Let me know what you guys think about this. I know most of you are artists and musicians and have some form or fashion of how you relate to this topic. If you like this video, drop some notes in the comments and we'll see you next time around.